Apology not accepted. The words she spoke of Mrs. Harris, lambs could not forgive, nor worms forget. Charles Dickens. Forgiveness doesn't come naturally to anyone. Perhaps the main reason is that it is so basically and totally unfair. I'm the one who has been injured, and now I must do the forgiving? No way. And if the offense is horrendous, forgiveness is not only unnatural, it seems impossible. Or what if the other person isn't sorry, or isn't even alive anymore? How do I forgive in that situation? It's impossible. Or is it? A few years ago, I was confronted with some of the painful things I had experienced with my father as I was growing up. There was a sudden onslaught of memories of things I had tried to forget. Ever since my father had died, 20 years before, I had blocked out all the negatives of our relationship, trying only to remember the good things. But when the veil of my denial was broken by some remarks my sister made, I was flooded with memories of his Irish temper, of the vicious spankings in the basement, of my fear of him and of the ulcer I developed at age 10. Only then did I begin to reference that ulcer to the stress of living with his unpredictable temper. The myth had always been that my diet caused the ulcer. At least that was what I had always been told. I knew I had to do something about all the feelings with which I was struggling. But he's dead, I remember thinking. What am I supposed to do with all these horrible feelings? I remember what I told others in my counseling office, that forgiveness is the only way to resolve issues of the past. But how can I forgive him when he's not here to be forgiven, I asked myself. Yet a year later I was able to forgive him. And when I did, it was like my life had a new beginning. I understood the words of Pat Conroy, who wrote in one of his novels, "On the day I forgave my father, my life began." What had seemed impossible became a reality. But what if I had been called upon to forgive a more serious act, like murder? How do you forgive when your own child is murdered? And what if the one who commits the crime is also part of the family? How do you forgive someone you love for killing another loved one? Wayne and Arlene attended our church. They had 2 beautiful daughters, both married and growing with their families. There was nothing apparent about the family that would make anyone think such a horrible thing could happen. Yet it happened. Wayne and Arlene's son-in-law shot and killed his wife, their daughter, during an argument in their kitchen. One can hardly imagine the pain Wayne and Arlene felt. Then, in the midst of their grief, not only did Wayne and Arlene step in and take over the raising of their grandchildren, but they also stood by their son-in-law during his trial and prison term. When he was released, they invited him to live with them and his kids until he could get his life started again. The reality of the forgiveness given by Wayne and Arlene has been proven over the years by their actions. But what if complete strangers killed your child? What if your beautiful young daughter was a Fulbright scholar working halfway around the world, seeking to improve the lives of people trapped in poverty, and you suddenly were confronted with the reality of her brutal death? Amy was a young woman from our community who was pouring her life into a black squatters' village in South Africa, helping the residents begin their slow march out of poverty after apartheid was eliminated. After spending over a year there, she felt the community was accepting her and her co-workers. Then the whole world heard the news that 4 young men from that same community had beaten her to death. The world watched as her parents walked into the hearing room of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and then publicly offered these men forgiveness, and stated that they would support the Truth and Reconciliation Commission if it decided to grant them amnesty, which it did. Yet it made the front page of our local paper only when Amy's parents talked about how they were going to help to continue the work started by their daughter and set up a locally run business making Amy's bread, the bread of hope and peace. What if the attack was on you personally? What if someone violated you and attempted to take your own life? Madge made news when she was assaulted and stabbed in a rape attempt. For 20 minutes, she fought with her attacker in the ladies' restroom at a local restaurant. When he tried to escape, he was arrested in the parking lot. Madge was taken to the emergency room covered with blood. At the trial, months later,